All right. Meanwhile, a guy that also would love to take his family on the road because he's on the road so often is Griff Jenkins. And today he talks about the Trump administration issuing a new border detention rule aimed at keeping migrant families together. But enter the world of politics.
This, as a new report reveals, the number of crimes committed by illegal immigrants in the U.S.
And Griff Jenkins joins us live from Capitol Hill with more on those numbers that are shocking.
They are. Steve, Brian, and Katie, good morning. The Bureau of Justice Statistics says that 64% of all federal arrests in 2018 were non-U.S. citizens, as federal arrests of non-U.S. citizens has more than tripled in the last 20 years, up 231%. And while non-U.S. citizens make up just 7% of the total population, they are accounting for 24% of all federal drug arrests, 25% of all federal property arrests, and 28% of all federal fraud arrests. And it comes as the administration issues that new rule that you mentioned, which tries to withdraw from the Flores settlement agreement. That prohibits officials from holding migrant children for more than 20 days. They'll replace it with the new standard expanding migrant family detention. If approved by a judge, it would take effect in 60 days. Democrats are blasting it on the 2020 campaign trail. Senator Elizabeth Warren tweeting that the president's latest attack on immigrant families is to keep kids and their parents in cages indefinitely. Families fleeing violence and persecution don't belong in filthy prisons. I'll fight this policy and all attacks on immigrant communities, but acting USCIS Director Ken Cuccinelli is out defending it today.
This is a deterrent because they know that instead of rushing the border, that now they can and will, to the extent we're able to do so, hold them until those hearings happen. They won't simply be released into the interior for us to never see them again.
So will it go into effect? We'll see. Legal challenges are definitely likely to happen, guys. I think this is safe to say this is headed to the courts, but certainly another step that the administration has taken trying to get the crisis at the border under control.
It is headed to the courts. Griff, thank you very much. California is already saying they will join other states in suing the administration. Let's bring in Geraldo Rivera. He has very strong immigration feelings. And Geraldo, how do you feel about the fact that the federal government is coming up with a new regulation regarding the Flores rule, which over the last number of years has meant that people who bring a child into the country illegally are sprung within 20 days. And now the family unit will be kept together, they say indefinitely, but really 50, 60 days until it's adjudicated.
Well, first of all, good morning to you and Brian, Katie. Nice to see you on the couch there.
Good morning.
You know, I think that the one thing we have to guard against, no matter what, is that the Trump administration cannot be the administration of child abuse. The Republican Party cannot stand
But they're not, Geraldo.
for the separation of children from their parents. You know, we have been, Brian, and, you know, the trouble that the president got in last
But not
year was
here.
for a
Let's
very
just talk about
real
this, though.
reason.
Let's talk about this. This is absolutely necessary. This is the most humane thing possible.
Is it really to keep children detained, you know, even with their parents, to keep them locked
coming
up
across is up
in a family prison?
They're not
it will
in
never
prisons.
stand the scrutiny of the federal courts,
They're
Brian. It will
using
never
the
stand the
system.
scrutiny. You have the Flores agreement. You have that was hammered out over years in terms of negotiation. They tried to get the fairest kind of equilibrium they possibly could.
It's a magnet of all
and
of
this is what they
Central
came.
America. Geraldo, it's a magnet for all of Central America to come here with families, many of which, 1 in 5, aren't the right families, and then they get released to the interior.
Geraldo, we had Tom Homan on with us just about an hour ago, and he told us that this 20-day rule only happened in the last couple of years. Before that, because the Flores settlement regarded children going back into the 90s, exactly, it was, you know, it was until they were able to figure it all out. But now it's become a kind of an arbitrary, according to Tom Homan, 20 days.
Why not strengthen the kind of conditions of the bail, you know, kind of like a parole? When you come in and if you're with the child, maybe an ankle bracelet, maybe some family vouchers for you, as I suggested last week, on the parents. You know, there are ways to strengthen the non-confinement alternatives, but the one thing we cannot be perceived to be throughout the world is the abusers of migrant children.
Well, that's for simple-minded
whether they're being used or, you know, wait, let me finish. Whether they're being manipulated or the same kid is being used for one couple after, the kid is still a kid. And we've got to show
they're being
that child the
abused by
compassion.
smugglers and human traffickers. So, Geraldo, I want to ask you a question about that. So, this 20-day period where people are held for 20 days, the administration's been criticized for separating parents, or adults rather, from children. And that's been the policy, right, before. Now they're saying, okay, we shouldn't be doing the separation, so we're going to keep family units detained until they have their court hearing, which is average 50, 60 days, and that's not good enough. So are you saying that family units shouldn't be detained at all?
And I'm
They
saying
should just
that
be let go.
comply with the Flores Agreement and make a better policy, a better system for dealing with non-confinement migrants who you want very much to return when their case is being heard. There are ways to do it. We have a bail system that works quite well in the jail system. Well, we've got to do something that tries to balance these equities. Katie. You can't have little children confined indefinitely. It wears at our souls.
But
as
it's
people.
60 days.
History will judge us for this.
Let the history judge. This is the reality. You're thinking politics. Talk about reality. Jay Johnson, who I believe was Homeland Security Secretary.
Ethics, Brian. I'm talking ethics.
Was Jay Johnson ethical? Was Jay Johnson ethical? Because he says, I disagree with the Flores case.
These are not unethical people. They're dealing with a tough situation here. And when you have children involved in the equation, you've got to be extremely sensitive.
Promoting human
You don't want the
traffickers
United States to be the
and
instrument
smugglers
of
is not ethical
separation.
either.
Well, and you